This video will show you how to install Microsoft Combat Flight Simulator World War II Europe series. There are 6 steps and we're going to go through them now so that by the time you finish the 6 steps you should have the game up and running on Windows 10 or Windows 11. This process should work for both those operating systems. Before we start the process though, quick word on joysticks. So I tried a Logitech joystick, a fairly recent version, and it wouldn't work with this game, so I don't recommend Logitech only for that reason. So if you do want to play this game with a joystick, then you should get a Thrustmaster, preferably the one on the right, which is a black and orange one, which is the Thrustmaster T1 6000M FCS. Although if they've got a later edition of this, then that should just be just fine as well. Alternatively, you can also get the Airbus Thrustmaster TCA Sidekick Airbus Edition, which is essentially the same as the black and orange Thrustmaster, but the Airbus Edition is designed to plug into other Airbus accessories, so you can build up a hardware cockpit, if you like, with dedicated throttle controls and aileron controls, pedal controls, that sort of thing. But you would only get that if you wanted to build out a hardware cockpit. Most people won't need to, so you would get this black and orange one. You can map a lot of buttons on this joystick to the keyboard cockpit commands. So this is really all you need for most of your games, if not all of them. However, if this was out of stock for whatever reason, you could get the Airbus Edition, just the joystick, because it's pretty much the same thing. In fact, I do have the Airbus one, but if I was to buy a game, I would definitely get the one on the right, the black and orange one, because that's really all you need. Just when I bought the Airbus one, I thought I might be inclined to build out a hardware cockpit one day, but really, no, I'm not that enthusiastic. But if you are, by all means, if you do want to build full hardware-based cockpit, you can start with the Airbus one if you like. But otherwise, most people, they just need this black and orange one. So that's the excuse me, I'm losing my voice. Just have some water. Yeah, so that's the hardware taken care of. Step 1 is just going to tell you to create the games directory. So for that, you go to the C drive, then you go into Program Files x86, then you create a directory called Microsoft Games, then you go into Microsoft Games and you create a directory called Combat Flight Simulator. So this is what that looks like. So this is where you'd start. You go to your C drive, you go into your Program Files x86, and if Microsoft Games wasn't there, you find a bit of white space, you right click, you go New Folder, and you create the Microsoft Games folder exactly as it is there, Microsoft Space Games. Then you go into that, and again on the white space, you right click, you go New Folder, and you create the Combat Flight Simulator folder exactly as it is there. And you go into there, and this folder's empty, but it's where the game will be installed. So yeah, we can just click and see the full path there. So once you've done that, you have finished step 1. So now for step 2, all we need to do is go to this URL. So we'll copy that into the buffer. You could search for it using these 2 keywords, but you don't have to, just use the URL that's already there. So you go to your browser and just paste it in, hit enter, and that's step 2. It's taken you to the My Abandonware website, which is a really good website, and it's landed you on the Microsoft Combat Flight Simulator World War II Europe series, which is a game built since Windows 1998. So Yeah, if you go back to the instructions, you'll see um, that we finished step 2 now. We're on the right page. And step 3 is going to just say, look for a button called recommended download, and that's where the game will be. So you'll download that. It's a zip file that contains an ISO file. If you don't know what an ISO file is, just think of it as a CD or a DVD that gets emulated when you access it from File Explorer, and that's currently downloaded in a zip file. So we'll show you how to open that up and unzip them, but basically there's one button for the recommended download to the game, and then another fix button for the fix to the game. So all you need to do in step 3 is press the 2 buttons and unzip the zip files after they're downloaded. So let's go and do that now. So we just scroll down until we see 4 buttons, and just click the middle one, the recommended version. That's the English version. You can ignore the top one. If you're French and you want the French version, click the bottom one. But most people will just click this middle one, so we'll click on that now. Feel free to donate to My Abandonware. They're a really good open source freeware type website. And because I'm using Chrome, if you look at the top right, we just got to wait for this round circle to complete 360 degrees, and then we'll get a pop-up message saying that the game has been downloaded. And there it is there, that top one. And now we can download the fix. That's started, and I'm pretty sure that's finished. That's fairly quick, that one. So if we go to the downloads folder, you can see the 2 zip files. First one is zip file containing the game. The second one is zip file containing the fix for the game. So all we need to do is right click on the first one and say extract all, just extract it to the default folder. And then do the same for the fix, extract all. And now you'll see the 2 extracted folders. So we'll just check where we're at with the instructions. So we've now unzipped them. So we finished step 3, we'll go on to step 4. It wants us to mount the ISO file. So we're going to mount that, and yeah, that's pretty much all you need to do for this step. However, if you right click the ISO file and you don't see the mount ISO option, go to this URL here and there'll be instructions on how to get that working in your Windows environment. I won't go through that. That's something you can do yourself. However, you can post on this video if you have any problems, and I'll help out. Also, the instructions we're looking at now will be in the description under the video as well. So you don't necessarily have to watch the video to follow the instructions. You can just read the description under the video and you'll see these same instructions. So yeah, we'll just go and do step 4 now, which is just simply to mount it. So let's go back to the downloads folder, and this is the extracted from the zip where the ISO is. So you just go in there and you right click and you hit mount. And yeah, you can just open that as the message comes up, and there you see it's the DVD drive has been mounted. So it's just emulating a DVD drive, and all you need to do now is once we finish the mount on step 5, just says find the setup.exe and install it. And then that will install to the directory we created in step 1. So let's go and do that. So this is the DVD drive. It's not a real one, it's an emulated one, but it's the equivalent of the original CD or DVD that the game came in. And you look at the setup.exe and you just double click it. And we'll click the install button, continue, exit, and you'll see this path here. That's the one we created in step 1. As long as we created that without any spelling mistakes, then this bit should work just fine. So you hit, and then you've got a choice. You can hover between these 2 bombs, and or typical. I recommend you just click typical. So you click on the typical bomb, installs. This is the original game installing to the hard drive now without the ping. So it won't be ready to run after this, but it will be very close. So we'll just wait while it loads, and while we're waiting, I would just encourage anyone that knows anyone in Microsoft to tell them to do an updated version of this game to run on PlayStation, Xbox and PC, and just leverage the better graphics in it on the new hardware, because this is actually okay, but it does need to be updated for the new platforms and new operating systems. So hopefully they won't change the game itself, because this plays better than the newer versions in my opinion, because its game engine and games design has just got everything right. And I've played newer simulators with better graphics, and they're just not as nice as this game. So anyway, ask if you want to create a shortcut. I would suggest you say yes to this. That will put a shortcut to the game on your desktop, although you don't have to, and if you don't do that, you just have to browse games directory on your C drive and run the executable from there. But I would just, and then and that is step 5 done. Now you don't need once you've done this step, you don't need this DVD drive anymore. You can go right click and eject, although I'm not going to do it now, but ideally this would be the time to do it. But you just go and check on your C drive again, and we'll go to the program files x86, Microsoft Games, Combat Flight Simulator, and remember how that was empty originally? Well, now it's full. In fact, got a bigger window. This is the one we were looking at before, and if we open this one up, open up program files, so games, Combat Flight Simulator, this was empty. So here it is here, and this is the game itself. Yeah, it's called Combat Flight Simulator.exe. So if I double clicked it, it would run the game, but we need to not run this version of the executable. We need to place that with the fixed executable just by overriding this file. So we're not going to run it now. But yeah, I could run it directly from this directory or the icon on the desktop, but it's not worth doing it now because the joystick won't work if I do. And it will try and run off the ISO rather than this directory as well. So now we need to go and do the fix. So if we go back to the downloads folder, should be here somewhere. Here it is. What am I doing? And then we go to the fix folder, which is this fixed exe with no CD. So go into there, and then you'll find this folder in there called Combat Flight Simulator Fixed exe. And really all we need to do is copy this one over the one in our games directory, and we're done. We're ready to go. Before we do that, let's look at the README quickly. And it's telling you this executable is going to fix two issues. The first one is the joystick doesn't work with the original one that we've got currently. And this executable fixes that problem. And that problem is that up until after Windows XP, they moved the location in the registry of the joystick configuration data. So, or data. So that's why the original executable won't work with any joystick, because it's looking for it in the wrong place in the Windows directory. So this executable has been fixed to look in the right location. So that's the first fix. And then the second fix is the game requires the actual CD or CD image. So when this author says CD image, he's talking about the ISO file we mounted, to be mounted for the game to work, because that's part of its original hardware protection. So this executable has taken that check out, and it's been modified to look for the look in the right place in the registry for the joystick information. So that's it really. So let's grab this file. We'll right click and we'll copy that. So I know Windows 11 has these fancy little icons up here, so I'll hit the copy icon. And then we'll just click into our games directory that we created in step 1. And this is the one we want to replace. So I'm going to right click in the right white space and hit paste. And it will say replace file and destination. You say yes. So now we do have the fixed version of the software, and it's now running off our C drive. So let's get it going and see what it looks like. Double click on it, run it. And I have to persuade it to come to the party 1 second. It's got a resolution thing, but it should fix itself. Let's just do free flight. Fly now. I think we should go into settings first. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I'm going to close this. It's Windows readjusted itself. We'll go to the home page. So we'll go to settings, and I suggest that make sure best graphics is ticked. If you've got a powerful processor, you can set this image complexity to very dense. Turn off enable hardware acceleration, because that causes the game to crash. At least it does on my setup. I don't have auto rudder enabled because I can control easily with my. If you can't be bothered, you can check that. But I do have enable auto mixture and enable joystick check. Obviously you want the joystick checked, and to make sure your joystick is working, and you don't get an error and you see your controller in there, which mine is the TA3020, and the status is okay. That means everything's good. So it's picked up the joystick fine. And then the only other thing you want to do, apart from graphics and turning off hardware acceleration, realism settings, I would leave it on easy, and you don't need SUNGLARE or GFX. So that's pretty much all you need to do. You can have unlimited fuel and unlimited ammo checked. Player is invincible. Keep getting shot down. I will turn that on. Otherwise, I'll leave it off for now. But certainly while you're learning the game, you want to make things as easy as possible. And I'll make the weapons as effective and as strongest. So that was already set up properly. Up here. And then you go into advanced display settings and you want to turn off wispy cloud effects. I think it's spelled wispy. So you turn that off. And also turn off gradient horizon. I think those two settings will cause the game to crash at certain points. So if you're ever playing the game and a particular part of the game always crashes in a certain point, come back to the advanced display settings and start turning these things off and retry that particular game scenario again, and problem should go away, assuming you've unchecked the setting that is causing a problem. There's no real way to find out other than trial and error. I think these two are a good starting point. I don't think there's any others that cause problems, but it's been a while since I played it. And I suggest for resolution, you start with, I think mine works best at 1624, but I recommend you start with 1920, 1080, see how you go. I think this is the one that works best for me. I've got a 72-inch Samsung TV monitor that I'm hooked up to, so it's not necessarily the highest resolution that's going to work best. Explain why in a sec. So I'll just select that and I'll hit OK. So now we've checked the settings. We'll just do a pre-flight. Fly now. Let's see what it looks like. Now this is pretty good. So when you pick a resolution, you want to make sure you don't have any black borders. So if you do, then you're not at the ideal resolution. So you can have a few, let's say, 2 or 3 centimeters of a black border here, 2 or 3 centimeters of a vertical black border on the left and the right side. That means you haven't got the best resolution. The other problem you can have is part of the cockpit could be truncated. So it might kind of only show up to here and might truncate some of these switch controls, or might truncate here. So here I can see I've got a full cockpit view and I've got no black borders on vertical borders on the left and right. So this is as good as it gets. And like I said, it's not necessarily the highest resolution that's going to do this for you, and it is monitor dependent. So that's something you'll have to get with trial and error. And let's just go for a quick flight. I've got the joystick attached. There is a command called Shift 2 that brings up this throttle control that you can use the mouse. I use it sometimes, but not all the time. This particular aircraft has a pitch lever, propeller pitch lever. I just tend to leave that alone. It's got a throttle lever and a mixture lever. I'm just going to turn that off, so I'm going to just use my joystick. Just remember Shift F2 to turn that on and off. The other controls, if you want to know the cockpit controls are, just hold your mouse on it and you'll see a little yellow balloon indicator. So this is airspeed indicator. This is landing gear switch and position indicator. So when the gear's up, this will be red. When the gear's down will be green. This here is your starter switch. These are your magnetos. This is your oil pressure gauge. This one is your temperature, oil pressure temperature, so on and so forth. So you can just hold up, like this one, for example, is your fuel pressure warning light. So, and then this one is your flaps. So each aircraft is slightly different, so you can get familiar just by hovering the mouse. So also you can just press the E button on the keyboard and it will start the aircraft for you. But I'm going to do this with my mouse just for the fun of it. So to start this particular aircraft, you have to turn on the 2 magnetos, and then this is the starter switch. You just it starts. I'm going to switch to chase here, and I already had my throttle on, that's why I just straight away set my joystick was on full throttle without realising it. I've just turned it down. Now I'm going to go full throttle again, the joystick, and when the tail comes parallel to the ground, you can just pull up, and you can press the D button and get the gear up, press the S button on the keyboard, then you get the cockpit view again, and I've configured my joystick. So I can use the hat switch to get the different views. So I'm cruising around, and yeah, if I press the S button, this is kind of cockpit view combat mode. So for some reason it's meant to get the view view. I tend to do combat views. You can't see how the other one is that much better really, but I'm still and yeah, that's it. As you can see, it's installed, working with the Trustmaster just fine. If you want to know what combat looks like, whoops, then simply look at some of my other videos. There are some combat scenarios. Chase you. Yeah. Enjoy the game. Ask Microsoft to do an updated version, not to change the game itself. And yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know how you go. If you have any problems, you can post in the comments.